Hi guys, good day. Boy, this is titled. This chapter is going to be titled "Wounded Wednesdays." How to heal? How to heal? That is the most important thing that we can do. Is how to heal. I hear a lot of people keep talking about where they've been or where they are, and yeah, I want to. Hey Bishop, how are you? Good to see you. I want to just say this: if you keep bringing it up, you're going to keep bringing it back. In April of '08, my mother-in-law drove her car through my living room and stayed ever since. Let me just say that again. She literally drove her car through my living room. Bam! Put a hole in the front of our house. The foundation was gone. The big picture window that we had out front was history. Now, she not only drove it through our living room, but she regained her presence of mind and she backed out the driveway, crossed the street, up a hill, and into the neighbor's house all in the same day. The cop said, "We're going to take your license." And my mother in law looked at him and didn't miss a beat. And she said, "Wait a minute. Wait just a minute. I thought you got two accidents a year." And he said, "You did, ma'am. This house and that house." So I want to talk to you today about the power of our thoughts and what we think about all day long. What do you think about all day long? In the book Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, he says, as a man, thoughts are things and powerful things at that, when they're mixed with a definiteness of purpose and a burning desire for their attainment. And then we go on to into the Bible. It says, now faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not yet seen. That's what faith is. Now, faith is the substance of things hoped for. But if you're living in fear or worry over where you've been or where you're not, then you're going to have trouble. And you're going to constantly keep bringing up, hey, the TikTok family, I want to just say, hey, how are you doing today? I appreciate you all. You all look lovely today. And thanks for being here, Bishop, and Instagram and Facebook and several other places, YouTube that we're on as well, and LinkedIn. We're talking tonight, as it's Wednesday, appropriately. A lot of people have a midweek hump day, they call it sometimes, getting over the rest towards the rest of the week. And I just want to share with you some things about how to heal, how to get over stuff. Thing I learned about my mother in law when she drove her car through my living room is she may have damaged the house. A lot of us have been through hell and back. Our houses have been assaulted. We've been abused. We've been beat. We've been uh, assaulted. Let's just say that. We've been everywhere and done that. Been there, done that, bought the t shirt, haven't we? So we could go on and on and on about where we've been. But is it really going to help you to focus on where you've been? Is it really going to do anything for you to continue on in the abuse and in the assault and what happened? You don't know what I went through. Trust me. I know plenty. I know plenty. Been there, done that. Bought the t shirt, and I have a few hanging in the house and hanging in the closet. So here's what I'll tell you to do: focus on your goals, focus on the future. Make your future so big that your past is afraid to show up. Let me say that again because I thought that was good. Make your future so big that your past is afraid to show up. See, a lot of us we keep reminding God about our past, and I say to remind your past about your God. A lot of people say, if God was so good, why did he allow me to go through all this stuff? And I'm thinking, well, why did we allow us to go through all this stuff? God doesn't, if God was so good, why does he allow bad shit to happen? Sorry for being so real, but that's the truth. Well, that's what we really ask ourselves. If God was so real, why did he allow that bad crap to happen? And I always ask too, well, if we are so good, why do we allow bad crap to happen? God has given us a power of choice. He's given every person on earth the power to get wealth. It's up to you. It is only up to you. And thanks for sharing this and liking the live. I appreciate you, Kevin. Thanks for being here. I'm on several different platforms tonight. I wanted to reach as many people as possible. So if you know somebody that always struggles in the past, maybe it's you, always struggles in where they've been and where they are. Yes, we all have a story, but what are you doing with your real story? Are you taking people into the future with you? Are you dragging them down into the past of worry, fear, and unbelief with you? Because if you keep focusing on your circumstances, they're just going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. George Bernard Shaw said, I don't believe in circumstances. The person who gets on in this world is the person who finds the circumstance that they want. And if they cannot find it, they create it. Now, I was a pastor for 7 years. I've been in this thing called Christianity for about 30 years, 3 decades. I like saying decades because it sounds shorter than 3 years. And in that time, I never heard talk like that. I never heard, I don't believe in circumstances. Always hear, well, it must be not God's will. If it's God's will, he'll open up a door. No, 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 no. It says knock. God's not just going to open up a door if you're not standing at it knocking. If you're not looking at the knocking at the doors of opportunity that are open to you. Jesus said, ask, seek, and knock. Ask and keep on asking. Seek and keep on seeking. Knock and keep on knocking. Be persistent. Going back to Think and Grow Rich in the book Napoleon Hill wrote, he said, thoughts are things and powerful things at that. When they're mixed with a definiteness of purpose, persistence, and a burning desire for their attainment. You can't keep doing the same thing over and over and over and over again, expecting something different to happen. You can't even keep praying the same thing over and over and over again, expecting something different to happen. A lot of people say, John, I just feel like God's not listening to my prayers. God doesn't listen to prayers that are empty. God listens to prayers that are specific. God listens to prayers that are directed towards an aim, a chief aim. God measures the stars of the sky with the span of his hand. He holds everything in place by the word of his power. Our earth is on an axis, and any slight move or variation from that axis, and we'd all be a bunch of crispy critters. God wants specific plans. In the book Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill wrote down, write down what you want. In the Bible, it reads, write down the vision and make it plain. Write down the vision and make it plain. A lot of people won't write anything out. I want to say thank you, Tia, for being here. But a lot of people just they focus on where they've been and where they are, and they want to know why they're not getting anywhere else because they don't have a map to get anywhere. And then they blame God when their life is falling apart or their life feels like it's spinning out of control. And I want you to know that your life probably is spinning out of control. Your life, you're sitting on a planet that is spinning around the sun at 900 miles an hour. We're literally spinning at a rapid rate of vibration. And if you ever hear that, I just don't get a good vibe. I don't feel the vibe. I don't feel like I fit in here. That's because it's not in the vibration that you are in at the moment. And most of us are stuck in this vibration that keeps us poor and poverty stricken. I want you to know that the disciples of the master were not paupers. They were not poor. They had it together when it came to business and life. They were disciplined already. And if we would discipline ourselves and focus on what it is that we want, write down the vision and make it plain. Most people don't know what they want. They focus on everything they don't want. What is it that you want? Can you articulate it? You know, when we were kids, we had no problem going up to a fat man in a red suit with a white beard, complete stranger, and telling that individual what we wanted for Christmas. And man, if you were like me, you had a list, because chances are you might just get one thing on it. so, so you had a list. But, you know, as the years went slowly by, I thought they were going slowly when I was a kid. But as the years went slowly by, and I got told no, or I got told I was given a note, I wanted a pony, and I got a note from Santa Claus. The handwriting looked familiar. But won't spoil it if there's any little ones in the room. But I got a note that said it wouldn't fit in a sleigh. And as years go by, I kept getting less and less of things I wanted, and I got more of what I didn't want. And so I got programmed in a way of what I didn't want. And so I just, man, I didn't know how you knew, Lacey. My brothers both passed away. Thanks for knowing that they were both gone too, Lacey. Yeah, my brother Tom passed away of lung cancer at the age of 60, and my brother Paul passed away at 46 in the same year that my mother passed away. God rest her. Yeah, so I've been through it. I've been through it. They had too much to eat. There we go. We got a troll with a soul in the room, guys. This is what I do with the trolls with souls. They can welcome. They're welcome to stay, but I just mute their accounts. I kind of like TikTok for that reason. um, anyway, I want to just say thank you for being here, and I appreciate you so much. And but if you think about writing down what you want and making it plain, be very specific about what you want. And I want to say thank you, Kevin Gates, for version for liking the live. I appreciate you being here. Uh, you're the man among men, it looks like. Uh, the and I want to say hello to people on Facebook as well as right now. But if you keep bringing it up, Paul the apostle said, "Not that I've already obtained or become perfect, but this one thing I do, I forget those things which lie behind, and I press on towards what lies ahead." But he had a vision. He had a goal. And I tell people, get yourself a goal that is so exhilarating that it excites you, that it scares you at the same time. One that's so in tune with your mental and spiritual core that you'll willingly dedicate all of your waking hours and all of your resources to its attainment, so that you can say at the end of your life, I'm emphatically and incredibly grateful to the idea that used my life. What a different story you'll have to share if you have such a goal. Have such a goal. If you get something that'll wake you up in the morning and that will keep you up at night, you've got to have something that you can fall in love with. The Bible says, perfectly love cast out fear. A lot of people say, well, I'm afraid it's not going to work. Then you don't love it. You're not impassioned about it. You've got to get a purpose under heaven. You've got to get something that gives you joy, unspeakable and full of glory. You've got to get something that you definitely want and desire. Years ago, I used to sell cars, and one of my friends, because she knew I sold cars, she said, would you help me find a car? And I said, well, sure, dear, I'll help you find a car. And I said, what kind of car do you want? And she started to list out every car she did not want. Every car she didn't want, she listed out. And at the end of the day, I couldn't help her. You know why I couldn't help her? Because I didn't know what she wanted. And I'm not going to sit around and try to find out a list of things that's not wrong with that car. She listed everything about not high gas mileage, not many repairs, not this, not that. She knew everything that she didn't want. And guess what she got? She got she got listed. She got exactly what she didn't want. She got exactly what she didn't want. Hold on a second here. And for that reason, he was, that's where most people are. They know exactly what they don't want and they end up getting it. So, what do you want to have, be, and do? And just as my mother drove her car through my living room, she damaged the house. See, when I was younger, I went through hell and back, okay? And let's just leave it at that. Went through hell and back, and I always focused on that, and it caused me to be very, very angry. I was embittered for years. I was upset for years, and the when that happened with my mother-in-law, I realized something. She damaged the house. Hey, Sanjay, been a while. She damaged the house that I was in, but she didn't kill me. She didn't kill my wife. She didn't disrupt the electricity. The house, the outer shell was damaged. And maybe you have been through stuff that has beat against you physically in your circumstance, your present circumstance, your bank account, your business, the failures, things like that that you can see were damaged. But you're not broken. You're not dead yet. See, I looked at my house as three different things. The house is the body, the physical world, the electrical stuff as the brain or the soul, and my wife inside the house as the spirit of life inside the house. I was not there at the time. And when my mother in law drove through our living room, my wife called me that morning and she said, "You're not going to believe it, but I think mom drove her car through our living room." And I said, "Honey, what do you mean you think?" And she said, "I heard a big explosion." I don't know about you, but man, when we hear the word explosion, we think spontaneous combustion. I saw a big, huge explosion. And I saw a mushroom cloud where my house used to be. When I pull up, I see all the damage, and I don't see her. But the reason I don't see her, she's across the street in coming out of the neighbor's house, and she backed right into the neighbor's house. And I said, I realized that my wife was still alive. The electrical and everything worked in my house. My house just needed to be repaired. And the reason I bring that, hey Heather, how are you? But this is kind of how I got over the pain. See, I believe in God. I believe in His Son. And I believe that His Son came into this world to heal and to forgive and to set people free from things that hold them in bondage, anger, drugs, whatever you want to call it. And I was very angry. I was embittered as a young man and struggled with who I was even. And and then I became a pastor. I went through Bible college, and I'll tell you, I could get you to heaven. I just couldn't bring it to earth. I I could make heaven sound so wonderful, and I could give you 3 points in a poem that's going to take you to heaven when you die, but it's just not going to bring it to earth. And I always struggle with that. And that is the Lord's prayer. Hey there, soothe my heart, dear. It's been a while. The it I'll tell you, I couldn't bring it to earth for nothing. And the Lord's Prayer in it is simple. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. And I, I didn't never try to answer that prayer. And it was in 2005 where I met a man that absolutely changed my life. Here I was a Bible, here I was a pastor, here I had, I could speak with the best of them and all that, but I just was lost. And I'm looking at Bob Proctor. I meet him in 2005, and he looks at me and he explained to me spirit, soul, and body. He asked me who I was. And I told him, I said, well, I'm John. And he said, well, that's your name, but it's not who you are. Uh, I said, well, I'm a pastor. He said, that's what you do. I'm a salesman. That's what you do. It's not who you are. Who are you? Well, I'm a husband. No, that's a role you play. So if you were to go down there through this list and say, I'm a mother, I'm a sister, whatever your race or gender is, those are all things that you do. Those are attributes about you. You're a nice, kind person. You'll do more. You help people and all that. But it's not who you are. It's not who you are. And I was like, well, hell, I'm really confused. I don't even know who I am now. And he said, you are a spiritual being. You have an intellect and you have a physical body. Once I grabbed that, I didn't understand it quite then. He kind of expounded on it, kind of like I'm trying to do with you. When my mother-in-law drove her her house, the car through the house, it damaged the house. I'm not saying if you've been hurt physically, your bank account sucks, everything you can see in the physical realm, all your circumstances, the grocery bill is too high, all that kind of stuff. I'm not saying that stuff didn't happen. I'm not saying it's not true. I'm not saying it's not relevant. I'm not saying it's not valid. I am saying that is your physical world. It is not you. It's not you. And he asked me what has happened in my life, and I began to tell him, and I told him all the stuff that happened to me, and he said, John, that did not happen to you. I'm like, okay. He said, it happened to your house. Now he's trying to get my attention. He started getting my wheels going, and I said, what do you mean? He said, it happened to your house. It didn't happen to your spirit. It didn't happen to your soul. Spirit, soul, and body. Spirit is the life force. Soul is your mind, your will, and your emotions. But spirit is the life force that's within you. And if you've been assaulted, abused, betrayed, denied, rejected, kicked around, rough circumstances, been through hell and back, that has been your physical experience, but not your spiritual one. And your spiritual one is eternal. And it started dawning on me. And then when my mother actually drove her car through my living room, and I was able to see it with my own eyes, that different thing. And when I grabbed onto this, that all the abuse, all the anger, all the frustration, all the stuff that I had been through did not happen to me. It happened to my house. It happened to my house. Hey, coach, it happened to my house. It didn't happen to me. It happened to my body. And when I realized that identity struggle that I had, that anger, that unforgiveness, I turned things around. I turned things around. And in that instant, all the anger, all the pain, all the identity crisis, everything that I was dragging with me. No wonder I couldn't move into my future. I was pulling a U-Haul behind me. I had so much pain, and there was no getting over that, no getting out of my issue because I didn't want to get out of it. It was like a pet rabbit's foot. But now I had no excuse. And he said, now you have a spirit on the inside of you, and that spirit is hooked up to a power source. And if you hook that power source up to another power source, you could light up a city of 15,000 people for 7 days while you're sleeping. While you're sleeping, that's how much power we have going through us. For instance, if our heart were to stop and they have to get those paddles, and those paddles, they slam down on you and they say the word clear. The reason why they say the word clear is they don't want anybody touching you, because the same power that can start your heart is the same power that can stop someone else's. So he says, you have extreme power. You have $750,000 a day worth of power going through you while you sleep. You haven't even gotten out of bed yet. Now, are you a powerful being? I said, yes. He said, and you have an intellect. You have choices to make. So now you have a decision to make. Can you forgive? I said, I don't know. I don't know if I can forgive. He said, forget that. I said, you really? You can't forgive? I said, what do you? He said, you're a very powerful being. You're worth $750,000 a day while you're sleeping. You can light up a city of 15,000 people for 7 days with the power that's going on the inside of you. And you're telling me you can't forgive? And then it hit me. It's not that I couldn't. It's that I didn't want to. Because the anger was all I had. And if I get rid of the anger, well, then I ain't got nothing left except joy, peace, fulfillment, gratitude, the freedom to live my life and to go after the goals that God had set up for me, destined for me to do. It isn't my fault there was an idiot in my path. Hi, Leah. How are you? You still with me? Hey, Caleb. How are you? Just followed you back, by the way. Good to see you. Let's see. So that's why I really I went through that. Hey, Grace, how are you? But that's how I got over it. I got over everything, and I want you to think with me. Whatever you've been through in life, if there is something that's hanging, if there's something that has you where you don't think you can move forward, you just can't move forward. I want you to I want you to say this with me. I am a spiritual being with immense power. Period. I am a spiritual being with immense power. Period. Hey, Kenzie, say that with me again. I am a spiritual being with immense power. Period. And I am worth $750,000 a day while I sleep. While I sleep. Think about that. I am worth 750. I am a powerful, powerful individual. And I have life flowing through me. There is no way that I am going to let this rob me of my destiny. Hey, Perjo Courtlanen, how are you? How are you? I can't get used to these Instagram names, but welcome. We're talking tonight about healing from the past. And there's a pretty simple way to do it and getting over the things so that we can move on into our future, because success is 95% psychology, 95% attitude, and 5% really how we respond with our attitude. But it's 95% attitude of gratitude. In the book of Thessalonians, it says to be joyful always, pray continually, and give thanks to the other. Actually, Kevin, I didn't know anybody was there. Looked like everybody, it zeroed out on me. And so I restarted it because sometimes it re-kicks things up when you do that. People start joining again. So that's why I did that. So sorry, Kevin. I didn't realize you were that you had left. But as I was saying, you are a spiritual being with immense power, period. End of story. End of story. Hey, Flying Nightmare, how are you? Um, but when Bob Proctor shared that with me, I had never, within an instant, I'd been in church for 30 years. I mean, and I'll tell you, nothing set me free quicker than those three things, to know that we are spiritual beings with immense power. We have an intellect, and we live in a house. And everything that we have been through in our life, that what we have received through the thoughts that have come in, the words of betrayal, denial, the rejection, the assault, the abuse, whatever you want to call it, the molestation, whatever it was, has come in, and we have been beat up against the house. The winds of worry, the tides of timidity, the just the tornadoes of life have sometimes come in and really messed with us. And I've seen people so stuck in their past. Well, you don't realize I'm angry because of this. And if you're angry, it's hard to make decisions. It's hard to get through. It's hard to do anything better with your life. It really is. So when you can, it's hard to be joyful when you're angry. It's hard to be prayerful when you hate God. It's hard to be thankful for every circumstance, or in every circumstance, give thanks. It's hard to be thankful when you're looking at your life and it sucks, when you can't pay for your groceries. It's hard to be thankful when you can't get over the past, the hurts. Well, I was transformed, because when you just say, okay, I believe it, sounds good, I believe it, I'm going to accept it. I'm going to accept it by faith, because I'm tired of carrying this big ton of rocks around with me. I'm tired. I'm worn out. I can't do it anymore. I want a better life. Jesus said, I come to give you life, and life more abundant. He said, I come that you might have life, and life more abundant. That's what he said. He said, I come to have that you might have life, and more abundant. But the thief, the enemy of your soul, the enemy that wants to keep you focused on what's happened to you, and you'll never get over it, and this is the way it was, and this is the way it will always be, and this is the way grandma did it, and this is the way her grandma did it, and by golly, you're going to do it this way. You'll never amount to anything. You're always going to be a loser. And all those things that we hear all of our life. And then somebody comes in and beats us down and makes us feel like crap, or we got assaulted or abused or molested or whatever, and we hang on to that stuff and we carry it into our future. And then we want to know why we're not prayerful, thankful, or joyful. And the Bible is very clear. Be joyful always, pray continually, give thanks in all circumstances, for this is God's will for you in Christ Jesus. And I see so many people that say they believe in God, believe in Jesus, and they are flat out miserable. It looked like they sucked on a lemon for 2 weeks. They're mean, they're nasty, they're judgmental. You know why? Because they haven't got over what happened to their house. They haven't got over what happened to the physical world. And the physical world was shattered. And they don't know how to put it back together because they're so focused on the physical world. And I say, focus on the spiritual world, focus on the eternal world, and forget the physical world. Paul said, whatever is true, whatever is noble, if anything worthy of praise, if anything good, let your mind dwell on these things. In a book, As a Man Thinketh, James Allen spoke about, um, as a man thinks in his heart, so is he. Or so is she. As a woman thinks in her heart, so is she. So if you keep thinking, well, I was abused, 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 I was abused. You don't know what he did. You don't know what she did. And then guess what? You focus on it long enough, guess what? Your identity struggles. You start focusing more on the physical world. And Paul the apostle said, think on whatever is heavenly, not on whatever is earthly. And in the book of Corinthians, he says, now we have divine power to the pulling down of strongholds. I learned what a stronghold was through Bob Proctor. Bob Proctor talked about a paradigm. A paradigm is a series of thoughts which form and crystallize into a habit. And we start thinking a certain way, and we start repetitively doing that certain way, and we become what we think about. So we keep thinking, abuse, molestation, rape, assault, all that kind of stuff. And then we start focusing on what's happened to us in the past. We start focusing on the poverty. We start focusing on the fact that nobody graduated in our family. We start focusing on the fact that I went through bankruptcy. We start focusing on divorce. We start, because like I was trained to go to the scenic route. My dad left when I was 3. I was abused for about 9 years. So I had to deal with divorce. I had to deal with abandonment. I had to deal with abuse. I had to deal with poverty. My mom had 10 kids, family of 10, single mom. We had a 3-bedroom shack. My mom never owned a house. We drank instant milk. And I'll tell you, if you have never drank instant milk, you have not lived. So I'm sharing this with you, not to say that we forget completely and we don't ever remember, but I can remember without it binding me. I can remember without getting bitter over it. Certain people I talk to, and they get so angry when they talk about their childhood, or they don't even want to talk about their childhood, or they get so angry when they bring up their teenage years. They get so angry when they go through stuff like that. And I'm telling you, if you will just recognize that you have a house, you live in a house, that's your body. You are a spiritual being with immense power. You have an intellect, period. But you are a spiritual being that has a mind that you can reason with, and you can pull down those strongholds. You can cast down vain imaginations, and you can bring every thought captive to obey God. So you can take those thoughts and take an inventory of them, and you can master your emotions. You can master your thoughts. And instead of you being the slave to your thoughts, your slaves now become the master. You become the master to your thoughts. And when you become the master of your fate, when you start writing down something that you want, and you now realize that you are a powerful, resourceful, beautiful, amazing creature that has a house, the spiritual being, and you have an intellect. When you do that and you realize, whatever I've been through in this world, it hasn't happened to me. It happened to the house that I was in. It happened to my house, guys. It didn't happen to me. So say it with me. I am a spiritual being with immense power. Period. Say it again. I don't believe that you're buying it. I am a spiritual being with immense power. Period. I am a spiritual being with immense power. Period. End of story. And I have an intellect. And I live in a house. Woohoo! The minute I did that, the very minute, all the past, all the hurt, I was set free from it in an instant. the weight lifted. Yeah, people have noticed my weight on this live. Hey, my spiritual weight lifted. I have no longer any anger over what happened and what passed and all that. And I do this every day. I keep telling myself I'm a spiritual being. So no matter what winds beat up against the house, no matter what damage the house goes through, it isn't me. It's the house in which I live in. And when you can separate your physical body from yourself, because I'll tell you what, you are going to lay yourself down in a grave, your body, they're going to steal. They're going to rob this thing that we put so much emphasis on. They're going to rob it and they're going to put it in a grave and they're going to cover it up with a bunch of dirt and worms are going to eat at it and it's going to decay. But your spirit is eternal. Your spirit is eternal. Your dreams are eternal. Your joy, your laughter, the peace that you have going through this life with. To bring heaven on earth, like Jesus said. How can you even think about heaven when you're going through hell? When you're focused on hell mentally and you feel like you're being burned every day, how in the world, if you're bitter, angry, frustrated, insecure, neurotic, and emotionally unstable, in other words, fine, how can you be joyful? How can you be prayerful? I have seen ministers preach from the pulpit that aren't even prayerful. They don't have any faith. They're reading off a note card. They're reading off a note card or they're a teleprompter in church or a monitor down in front of them telling them when to say and what to say it because they're just empty because they're focused on the physical world. They can't pay the mortgage at the church. Physical wind of worry. They can't do this because it's in the physical world, and so they get angry. They've been abused. They've been beat. They've been assaulted. They've been betrayed. Somebody betrayed them in the church. Another wind that beat up against the house. Another effect of the tornado that came through. They had a church split. Everything in the physical world, and they can't get over it. Paul said, I forget those things that are lie behind because I've got a goal. I press on towards what is ahead. I take hold of that for which Christ took hold of me. I am not going to stay focused in the past. I'm not going to be bitter about this. I'm not going to be angry. I'm not going to be frustrated. I'm not going to stay there because I'm a spiritual being with immense power. I've had an encounter with God. And this is exactly what happened with Paul. He had an encounter. And you can have an encounter with your God tonight. That God force, that life force that's on the inside of you, you can wake it up, shake it, and say, wait a minute. There's something stronger than where I've been. There's something stronger than the pain. There's something stronger. Greater is he that is in you than he that is in the world. And he loves you and he has a plan for your life. And he didn't put you on this earth to take you through hell, but his goal was that you might have life and life more abundant. That's a promise, guys. But I think sometimes because of our programming, how we were raised, what's happened to us, we stay in that realm of the physical. We stay in the realm because we're always in the church saying, well, if it's God's will to get you out of it. No, it's God's will for you to be prayerful, thankful, and joyful. And you cannot be prayerful, joyful, and thankful if you're embittered all the time. So focus on the good, guys. What does he want for your life? What does he want for you? And that, my friend, is how we can get different. We can be different and we can move on. Take care, guys. May the Lord bless you and keep you. May his face shine upon you, and may he lift up his countenance on you and give you peace until that day when you stand before him, when there is no sunset and no dawning. But I can tell you this, with whatever's happening in this world, there are signs of the times amongst us, guys, that we need to turn our eyes towards heaven and stop focusing so much on earthly things and physical things. You, my friend, are a spiritual being with immense power, period. You have an intellect, and you live in a house. You live in a house. And when I really, that dawned on me, and that brought home for me, the pain left, the bitterness left. Hey, hi, Jason. Hi. Oh, hey there, guys. Welcome. Welcome. Hey, Jack. How are you? Hey, Edge. How are you? Good to see you. But that's how you get over things, guys. You get over them. You just, I'm a spiritual being with immense power. Period. End of story. No more room for discussion. And if I'm a spiritual being with immense power, I can forgive. I can let go. It no longer has a hold on me. Now I can be joyful. Now I'm free to be joyful and free to be thankful. Now I'm free to start writing down my goals because now I am full of faith. I'm not full of fear anymore. I'm full of faith. Now I've got the love of God on the inside of me, working every day. Recognize that I'm a spiritual being with immense power. That's who I am. I'm not my name. I'm not what happened to me. I'm not the past. I'm not everything. I am a spiritual being with immense power. Period. End of story. That happens to have an intellect and that lives in a house. I hope that makes sense, guys. Because when that went through my mind, and that, boy, I'll tell you, I have never been the same since. Never been the same since. Hey, John, how are you? Welcome. Appreciate you being here. Welcome. Uh, so, any questions, guys? Any questions on Instagram, on Facebook, TikTok, YouTube? I want to say welcome to y'all right now for watching.